Hashtag Trending would like to thank Meter for their support in bringing you this podcast. Meter delivers a complete networking stack, wired, wireless, and cellular in one integrated solution that's built for performance and scale. You can find them at meter.com/HTT.
So the vibe from my perspective is that Gemini cares about giving you what you need right now. Okay? Whereas ChatGPT cares about becoming part of your life and your system and the things that you need to do over time. It's actually the real assistant, where the other one is the temp that you hand something to, and the likelihood is you'll never see them again, so it doesn't really matter whether they remember tomorrow or not.
This is a one-night stand versus a romance here.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it. I wouldn't have put it that way, but that's an interesting way of putting it.
So welcome to Project Synapse. To anybody who's listening to this is our year-end finale show. We normally start out with a plan and then throw it away, but and I think we've already done that. But
I blame myself for that. It's my fault.
No, but I think
make a plan and then we talk
about
about everything else. But
when things move this fast, can you actually lay out an editorial schedule? I haven't been able to. Every time I think about, we should look at this theme and this theme, and then somebody comes and goes, by the way, we just launched this dynamite thing called Gemini. Oh.
Talk about that instead. I said, we'll talk about that instead. And remember, only one of us is actually an organized person who follows a script.
Who's that? We're all looking going, who might that be?
I'm sitting there going, there?
John's got you fooled. No, he's not. Trust me. I read his profile. The AI outed him.
Let's be honest here. Anybody who watches this on YouTube, okay, or who listens, but because it comes through in the voice as well. But watching is a definite. That guy, John Pinard, is chill as it gets. Yeah. Like, that guy is chill. And then there's the two of us.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, like I said, I did my own personality analysis on what did I use? I used OpenAI. I used Gemini. And then I have something I talked to you guys about today, Mail Synth. But I was absolutely amazed at how accurate it was.
Especially with all the nice things it said.
Nice things? What, did it say nice things? It said them in a nice way, but basically, I'm a loser with ADHD. I'm a perfectionist and I drive people crazy.
No.
There's an old country song that was famous. It said, "Tell me something I don't know."
Actually, that was one of the early prompts that they recommended that you do with Google Assistant. Remember? It was like, say the magic word H followed by the G word, and then say, "Tell me something I don't know." And then it would spit out some random fact that you'd find on the back of a Trivial Pursuit card or something. That was an awesome game. Like, I played that so many times and for so many years, but I hated them for the fact that they included a sports category. Okay, that just killed me.
Yeah, there was that. Yeah, I knew the guys. I was there when they were creating it. The Haneys created that, and Mary Haney and I were at the Shaw Festival together. And she wanted me, and I know everybody has this story, but I can actually pull Mary Haney out, and she'll verify it. She said, "You want to invest in this thing?" And I went, "Not a chance. These guys are just boozers."
You fool!
But that's okay. I've dumped all my money into AI stocks now. I'm going to really make God, no.
You'll be
collapse hasn't happened yet, but remember the idea is that you're supposed to buy low, sell high.
Yeah, I always
buy
get that
high.
Wrong. Always get that wrong. The collapse, actually, the infrastructure collapse could be on its way. I don't know. There was a big oracle, and some of those stocks lost like 20-30% of their value. 20 to 30% of the artificial high price that they'd achieved.
Yeah. Yes.
Not their value. But yeah, can you imagine? One day you're the world's richest man, the next minute you're the world's 92nd richest man.
Oh my God.
Boo-hoo.
You know what?
Might have to sell one of his...
We had some friends over last night, and we joked about the idea that it should be like you get to $1 billion and then you get a trophy that says, "Congratulations, you won," and you don't get to make more than $1 billion. And everything goes back into the community and into building things and so forth. But
if you want to do it again, give away $900 million and do it again.
Yeah, and do it again. Show us that you can do it over and over again.
Yep. That'd be good. So anyway, you wanted to talk about something, Marcel, and I wanted to let you start with that because I think it might
remind me what it was.
You were talking about vibe.
Okay.
But you wanted to talk about vibe.
Yeah, no, vibes, definitely. You remember last week, at least I think it was last week, there was a prompt going, because right now we're at the year end where you've got all these things. Here's your 2025 wrap up, which was a Spotify thing and YouTube does it now. And honest to God, I got here's your 2025 wrap up from Zehrs, like from the grocery store. God. Here are your top grocery purchases for the year. Are you kidding me? That's just insane. Anyway, so everybody's doing it as this is what you did back in 2025. Thank you very much. Anyway, so somebody came up with this prompt and I did share it and it was create a Spotify based on what we've discussed in the last year, create a Spotify list of year in review based on everything we talked about. And it's fascinating. And this was one of those things where ChatGPT 5.2 had just dropped at the time. This was last week when we were talking about this. And Gemini, of course, Gemini 3.0 Pro was still hot off the presses, a couple of weeks off the presses at that point. And everybody was still touting it. It was the greatest thing in the world. Now, theoretically, both of these have memory, as in they will remember past conversations. I think it's on by default, but you can actually if it isn't, you can turn it on. And I believe that you have to have either the Plus or the Pro tier, the $20 a month thing, $20 US, of course, to be able to do that. Now, so I've been, as everybody who listens to this knows, I've been paying for this stuff since basically it came out. And I gave the prompt to ChatGPT and I gave the prompt to Gemini 3.0. And I cannot tell you how disappointed I was in Gemini 3.0, like really disappointed. Because at most, it could go back into its memory for a couple of weeks. So it was reiterating the greatest hits of 2025, and it loosely put together something which wasn't even accurate of what we discussed in the last 2-3 weeks in conversations. And I looked at that and I thought, honestly, this is like the best model going at the moment. And ChatGPT actually did go back an entire year covering things that we talked about, extracting ideas about what we were probably trying, or what I was probably trying to get to in asking all these different questions and what I was doing. And it was really interesting and it was really fun. And I got the idea that Gemini is at this moment, I can do the Nano Banana Pro stuff and that's cool. I can do VO 3.1 and that's really cool. And it can code really nicely and do all this stuff. But when it comes to actually digging deep and giving you something that's, if you'll pardon the expression, meaningful, okay, it just falls apart. It's just not that good in comparison. So the vibe from my perspective was that if you actually want someone falling into the trap, but if you actually want something that will give you some insight into your day-to-day life over the course of weeks or months that you use these things. And remember, we're taking these things and making them part of our lives in terms of what we research, what we do, what we write, the information we're looking for, the suggestions that we want in terms of, hey, these are the only items I've got in my refrigerator. What can I make for supper? Like every conceivable use that you can think of for these things, you start to rely on these things. And ChatGPT, in this case 5.2, but I'm assuming 5.1 would have done the job as well, had a really good handle on that and did a spectacular job of it. So the vibe from my perspective is that Gemini cares about giving you what you need right now. Okay? Whereas ChatGPT cares about becoming part of your life and your system and the things that you need to do over time. It's actually the real assistant, where the other one is the temp that you hand something to, and the likelihood is you'll never see them again. So it doesn't really matter whether they remember tomorrow or not.
This is like a
that's what I mean by vibe.
This is a one-night stand versus a romance here.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it. I wouldn't have put it that way, but that's an interesting way of putting it.
Don't get me wrong. I've been really impressed with Gemini, but Marcel, you and I talked about this either last week or the week before, about the first thing I always do when I got ChatGPT, the first thing I went in and did was said, don't use my information to train the model. And I tried to find the same thing for Gemini. And although you did find it for me, one of the issues with it for Gemini is that if you turn that off, saying don't train the model with my information, it also gets rid of all your history. So
that's right.
The ability, I like the fact that ChatGPT has had a lot of time to interact with me, so it knows my style, it knows the things that I've looked at and all the rest of it. I can't do that in Gemini unless I'm willing to let Gemini take all of my information and use it to train their model.
But so I want to go back to this vibe thing because, and I'm glad you said that. I was really curious as to what you were saying because we'd been flipping notes back or seeing some things back and forth on this and talking about it. But I have been to the mountain. I have had a revelation. I've found a program called Mail Synth, and I don't mind giving them a shout out right now. And I'm not saying anybody should go get this thing, but it was the first AI product since ChatGPT early days that just rocked my world. And the reason it did was vibe. And this is why I picked up on the word when we were having that conversation, the vibe. Mail Synth reads your emails and came back with the most incredibly accurate profile of me. And I believe they're using Gemini. As a matter of fact, I'm almost 100% certain they're using Gemini. I've been on their Discord and trying to figure this out, and I'm trying to reach somebody there. But the way they talk about how they're executing this thing, I'm almost certain they're using Gemini. But it is the most intuitive use of AI I have seen. Not just that it picks up and understands you. And I've got some notes. I could share some of these things that it said about me, which was just absolutely incredible. But the
Mail Synth is a Google shop, by the way, so it is definitely Gemini.
Yeah, I'm certain that they're using Gemini.
Yeah.
It's how intense. So here's a bit of a description of me. This is just a portion of it. There's a distinct tension between your expertise and your tools. You're a tech veteran who's ironically bogged down by the friction of tech tools, struggling with streak setups, Kobo transitions, and Libsyn billing. You need your stack to work for you, not create more admin work. Are you like, who? I'm looking around going, are you watching me? And this is from reading my emails. And so part of what Gemini may not have is that history of you in a way that yet it can interpret. But these guys found it in the emails. The second thing is I have never seen, everybody should go try this program just to try it out. Don't buy it. And by all means, don't connect anything to your email yet until we've established that they actually know what the hell they're doing. I have it on a relatively painless email set. It's my publishing email, which I'm about to publish everything from my publishing email. I don't put stuff in there that doesn't get published. So I really don't give a rat's ass if that gets leaked. There would be some repercussions if I had a couple of emails with people that were personal or anything like that. But it's like the guy who sent me an email one night and said, I've got pictures of you naked and I'm going to send them out unless you send me some money. And I'm going, man, you're not going to make a lot of money with those pictures, I got to tell you. So it's the same thing with this. So I've got an email set, which is basically, we talk about understanding, John, you as a security guy, you know what your crown jewels are? This ain't my crown jewels. Don't connect to your work email. But this thing, I can't believe the conversation I had with it in setting things up. And it's setting up this email box for me to be organized. And it's just phenomenal. And the interchange of ideas, I could not believe that there was not a person on the other end of there. I just couldn't believe it.
I think these things are great. I would absolutely love to be able to tie AI into my mail and the rest of it to help me organize things and all the rest of that. But I'm still of the belief that don't give AI any access to anything that you're not willing to publicly share on your own.
But that's what I want to work out with these guys. I want to find them. I'm going to track them down because I want to find out what they're doing in security. Google is doing some things within... But just Google is doing some things within the browser which are going to make it incredibly secure, and their browser operating system. So it's just a matter of time. That's why I'm saying don't rush out and do this with your work email, guys. But I've seen the future.
But I don't want to knock a potentially really cool product or anything like that, but if you are a user of Gmail, if you actually are using corporate Gmail, and I'm talking about Google Workspace here, okay? Google already has access to all of your emails. Okay. And I'm going to just very quickly post this picture in our private chat, like between the three of us here, just so that you can take a look at this.
Ooh, you can't see it.
You can click that little icon up in the top, the little sparkle icon that that Google uses to indicate Gemini, right? Like the little diamond sparkle. Mm-hmm. Anyway, if you do that, you can actually ask a Gemini to go through your emails and analyze how you do things, what you are, how you handle responses, what your speaking style, like everything. It will do all that for you already built into Gemini if you're a user of the Google Workspace product.
Totally get that. And that's what I was getting at in terms of the mechanisms there. What these guys have done has found a way to tap into it to make it flow conversationally and take actions in a much less clunky thing. Like Google drives me nuts. I know how much power is there, but I wanted to create a picture with Nano Banana yesterday. And so I click on the star thing that I've got on Google and I go, how do I do this? Where does Nano Banana live? And so then dummy me types in Nano to Banana into my search engine. It brings me up to one. I figure, I'm within the browser that I'm paying for all this stuff. Nope. It took me off into the world of the internet where I've got 2 credits. And I go, like, why can't I just ask it for Nano Banana? Why do I have to know and that's what these guys had done differently. I'm having an email conversation with their back-end AI. And it's astonishing. Like I said, I cannot believe there's not a person on the other end of that. And so what they've done somehow, a bunch of bright kids, is to bring all this together and done something Google's never really been good at. Figured out something, and it was just so instant. It sounds so simple, and I don't know why I did it the first time. But I got an email from this thing, and it said something, and I just responded to it. So it came up to me and said, welcome to Mail Synth, and we're glad you're doing all this stuff and all this sort of. It said, if you have any questions, just get back to us. And I said, I have a question. And I said, how do I deal with this individual situation? Not the overall thing that they'd set up for me. I said, I'm working on this one thing, and it's with a client, and I really need to know how I fit it into what you just designed. Oh, that's a great idea. Here's what we'll do. Here's a couple of options for you. And I start having an email conversation back and forth. And I had to give myself a shake and say, you are talking to an AI. And it was you just hit so many places where and I know these things are smooth, but even if you go on to ChatGPT's voice chat, it's cool. And hi, how you doing, Jim? You're a great guy. I can talk to you now. What type of thing you want? Oh, I'll be just as cool and transparent as you want me to be. It's phony. I could not tell this. I swear, you could not tell this. And
so take that, what you're talking about, Jim, and put it in the hands of malicious actors. Can you imagine Can you imagine how scary this can be if it falls in the wrong hands?
It already is in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
No, it already is. And it's not only that, it's in a model that's already jailbroken. And they're running it. These are not like, whether it's a nation state or just a really big actor in cybercrime. They're running it now.
So just to carry that whole vibe thing a little bit further, I think that sometimes there are people who want their AI to just do what they want it to do, and it's otherwise just shut up. And in fact, if you want to, you can give ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever whatever personality it is that you want by adding that into how do you want me to respond to you and so forth. And a lot of people actually do not know how to do that. And I know that's the case. Like in ChatGPT, you can click on your little image that's in the bottom right-hand corner. You go to personalization, and then you can say, how do I address you? How do you want me to respond? All these sorts of things. A couple of weeks ago, I pointed you guys to a little app that I wrote, a persona generator, where you can actually create a persona, and it will talk to you in whatever way you have chosen to have this thing respond. By the way, it's available as a standalone app. I put it in our public Discord server.
I saw that. And I didn't know, are we making that available to everybody, or are you running that on your own?
Yeah, sure. I've got it set up in such a way that Google will not charge me more than $10 a month for this. Anybody that wants to play it is welcome to play with it.
There's a link to the Discord. You have to check this thing out. It is absolutely hysterical.
Or really serious as well, if you want to create a really serious persona.
I never tried that.
I created about a half a dozen, and in fact, I built it in such a way that there's a little folder where you can store your personas, so that you can say, this is the one that I want to be able to use. And then, of course, if you want, you can erase it and put a different persona. But if you store them inside your little folder, you'll be able to go back to it and get it later on. You use a previous persona that you want.
And if you ever have one of those cases, and they're very rare, but either where you feel career suicidal and because you just won a lottery or something like that, this is the persona generator you want to use to quit. It will give you... It will give you the Johnny Paycheck version of take this job and shove it, and very cleverly.
Yeah, if you create the appropriate persona, yes, I'm sure that's the case. But anyway, what I was trying to get at there is you can actually, out of the box, modify, and again, it helps if you're willing to pay the $20 a month. But if you're not doing that, different models have different feels to them. I also pay for Claude, Anthropic's Claude. And on that one, it actually, more than any out of the box, feels like you're talking to a person. Like they have done that personality thing so well that it really does feel smooth, like you're chatting with someone. It's also obviously a spectacular coding agent, which is why it's like the favorite for most people who are writing code out there. I know that people use ChatGPT and I know that people use Gemini, but the serious coders that I know out there are using Claude, particularly Opus 4.5 now. But in terms of its out-of-the-box personality, it feels most like a person when it's talking to you, more than any of the others. Gemini feels more, like I said, like the temp that you hired. And ChatGPT feels more your friend, your helpful friend that is going to remember your birthdays, that is going to make suggestions that you may or may not want to hear, and so forth. It makes a difference. And that is actually one of the reasons I suggest that people try these different ones, because they are going to feel different about it. But honestly, ChatGPT, though, in terms of the models that do it all, if you'll pardon the expression, and by do it all, that'll do vocals, that'll do that you can talk with a voice through, which kind of leaves Anthropic out in the dark on that one there. So at that point now we're down to, and I know we keep missing Grok, but we know it exists. Maybe we'll get to it at some point. But ChatGPT, I think, is still, for anybody who's coming to this, the best all-around package. And this week we had ChatGPT Image 1.5, which is their answer to Nano Banana. Jim,
and
you look like you want to say something about this.
No, once again, it's the same deal. If I started using Gemini's Nano Banana because I need to do work images. So if I needed to get a picture of me or something and get that put into something I could use for marketing, Gemini was just perfect. And then all of a sudden, ChatGPT came up. And not only is it holding on to being able to do effective things with pictures, and this was always the killer with me, is that it always would go back and reinvent something, or the face never looked right, or blah, 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 just never really got there. Or you argued with it so much to get a picture done. Like it was just, and this week I was, and I don't know where we get to, but I was looking at this and I wanted a picture that was going to be nice looking and elegant and would be interesting to look at and creative. And I was struggling with the instructions to get that. I had the most incredible piece from ChatGPT. I couldn't believe it. It was actually, it started out with a lot of mechanical pictures, and I couldn't figure that out. I couldn't get it past that. And then all of a sudden it just broke out. And I don't know whether it connected the new video piece or not. Because before that,
sometimes you got to do that reload to get the new version, right? You got to refresh your browser to actually get the new one. Can I do a little demo for people that might be watching on YouTube here of the image generator?
Yeah, let's do a demo, but you have to walk the
Okay, I will explain as I go, which I realize I sometimes don't do. So I apologize to everyone out there who actually has to go through this with me. But so ChatGPT, first of all, like I said, they're doing this right. And if you take a look on the screen that I've got here at the moment, can you see my screen right now?
Yep, absolutely.
For ChatGPT? Okay, so if you go to chatgpt.com/images, you'll go into the new image generator. And the first thing you notice right off the bat is the screen actually shows you a number of ideas of what it is you can do. First of all, there's I can add a photo as a starting point. And in fact, or I can do like I did a screenshot of us. So I'll just paste the screenshot of us on the show right there. So that's my starting point. And then it has a whole bunch of different styles that you can use on the image. And we've got here doodle, art school, and ornament, pop art, ink work. And then there's something down here, a new one. And I know that, Jim, you did this create an album cover down here where it says, discover something new, make me as the girl with a pearl, all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, you'll see the images that you've generated recently.
Well, that's right.
In the past,
I had,
down
after
along.
I saw Marcel's, and if you're not in our Discord, you have to go through this because this is Marcel's fantasy band of himself. And then take a look at mine. His is all rock and roll. Mine is men in plaid.
Hey, come on, let's be honest. Everybody wants to be a rock star. Everybody wants to be the musician on stage that everybody in the world falls in love with. All right, maybe not everybody, but most of us have this crazy dream that we could be on stage and millions of people would love us. And anyway, so it's a recurring fantasy, let's be honest. But as you can see, as I explained it, so two things. One, describe or edit the image. And if you don't know how to start with this, you can just pick one of these things that's a preset. So just for fun, let's do the sugar cookie. So we're going to do sugar cookie versions of the three of us. And you just click on that. And ChatGPT is going to, it's got these prompts, like the kind of prompt that you would have a tough time designing yourself. Using the provided image as reference, create a tasty, perfectly formed sugar cookie decorated with a smooth royal icing, blah, 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 subject or image. And it goes on and describes it in detail, which it then passes to the image generator. Now, another thing which is really cool about ChatGPT Image 5.2 is take a look at the bottom there. It says, create another image while you wait. So you don't actually, first of all, it's a lot faster than the old image generator. As I understand it, it's 4 times faster. Where it would take you like a minute and a half for it to do something, now it takes about 20 seconds to generate an image. So it's a lot faster. But the fact that you can queue up things and have it generate different things as you're going along is actually a really cool thing. Because if you've got a bunch of ideas and you don't want to wait for all these ideas to happen, right?
Yeah.
And
when I'm doing,
so
when
I
I'm
can
doing
also
the podcasts and I have to get the image for the podcasts, I'm using ChatGPT more times than not for the images that I do. But you'd have to sit there and wait. And I'd be afraid to go to another window because it would stall on me all the time. This is just incredible.
Okay, so while it's doing that, there you go.
Look at this.
We've got the... It's not bad, actually.
Not bad.
You got to send me that one. We're going to use that one.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
We're going to use that for
I
our Google thumbnail.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it will continue to, and as you can see, I actually told it to generate another image of the three of us as bobblehead dolls in a futuristic setting. I don't know what that's going to turn out like. But it took that request and ran with it while it was generating the other image. So you can continue and have it do all sorts of things. Create a new image of a Yorkie behind the wheel of an Aston Martin.
Oh, I think Freud would have a field day with you. But
funny.
if you ever want to get the most off-the-wall ideas, just call Gagne. Just ask him to give you 2 or 3 ideas that he's thinking. It's not just that you do creative stuff with this stuff. It's just that it's weird. There's always some, I can't even think of stuff like this. There's a human person on a wrecking ball flying through the moon on steroids. Like, it's just, yeah.
Wouldn't you love to spend a day inside Marcel's head?
No.
There you go. That's cool. I like that.
No,
There's our
actually,
bobbleheads.
Look at this. Look at this. My God, this is perfect. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love that. That's
And
just
look,
great.
it's got the plaid shirt for me.
Yeah.
My God. Yeah. Send
All
me
right,
these two. I'm not even trying to redo these.
Those are awesome. Those are awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So
But
this is part of what I mean by vibe. ChatGPT doesn't just assume that you're a professional who's going to use this in a professional way or whatever. It says, you may not know how to use this and you may not know how to start using this, but let me give you a painless entry point. And
That's what I was getting at, though. And that's what I meant by these guys who did this Mail Synth thing. And this is Google, even if it has the most wonderful product in the world, they still can't get the user interface thing. They just don't get it. We're brilliant. We got all this stuff there. You should go figure it out. But ChatGPT, look at what they did with that, how brilliantly they did that in terms of the sale of it. I'll give you all this stuff. There were places like Runway and all these things that always had these, when they started out with all these diffusion models, they always had these things where you can try this, you can be a rock star, you can do this. You click on it and it gets you started. And they've adopted that. But then giving you the prompt so you can see it, you could start to change it. Talk about ways to encourage people to use AI. I got to say, if we talk about the personalities of AI, the two companies are so different in their personalities, and it shows in everything they do.
Okay, so I'm just the last prompt that I did, I just have to show you this, okay? I have to. It's important.
Is this the Yorkie driving the Aston Martin?
No, the Yorkie actually was interesting. I'll show you the Yorkie as well. It was interesting because I said behind the wheel, and it actually put it behind the wheel, which was interesting. But there's the three of us as Sigmund Freud.
My God.
My God. Yeah. If you're listening to this,
great.
If you're listening to this, go to technewsday.com. I'll put these pictures in the article, or check it out on YouTube. It really
or
is
our Discord server. I'll put them on the Discord server.
Yeah, go to our Discord server. There's a link at the start. If you check us out, there's a link on the YouTube and on all the stuff that has our. Every week I try to remember to put the Discord link invite in there. Oh my God, look at this thing. The Yorkie behind the wheel. You have to see this. The dog is actually behind the steering wheel peeking out at you in an Aston Martin.
That's priceless.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
So
sorry, I have too much fun with this stuff. I should take it more seriously.
The personality thing and the use of this. And I think this takes me to somewhere I wanted to go. And I've shared this with you guys, like the two of you, I think, are known for AI, talking about AI, partly because of the show. We have a fairly considerable audience. I get invited to speak. And I'd gotten 2 local invitations to speak. 3 if you count something else that happened. I'm not going to share that one because I live in a small town, but I'll share the 2 that I'd gotten to speak on this topic. And one of them, I was really amazed. I went to a presentation here where we have a local speaker series, and nothing wrong with it. A local doctor who has no knowledge of AI was talking about AI. And I'd realized that I'd had a couple of things scheduled where I was going to go talk in the community about AI, but they always got put off. And because you're in a small town, nobody says we don't want to talk to you. And I watched this speech and it scared the crap out of me because it was all largely ill-informed and scary. And I realized why I'd gotten some local cancellations. I'm not going to go out and tell them that AI is going to kill them and that they should stay away from it and that it's evil and that it's going to, that's not my thing. And so but this whole thing this is terrible. It's going to kill creativity. It'll never work in medicine. And we did the show with the vet. And I'm watching this doctor, nice lady, smart lady. I'm not taking anything away from her. I got to live in this community. But, oh my God, she needs to talk to your nephew because she's saying nothing works at all. It's all broken. It's all terrible. It's all awful. And I'm going, not exactly. And there are things that you have to work through and understand. But I'm not having the same problem working with AI that she is. But I think this is this whole idea of this is terrible, scary, and awful. And that's as bad as the people who are saying it's going to do everything for us. And because one of the places that just gets me, and I want to keep on to this, was I think if you're not introducing older people in your life, and by older people, I am an older person. God, I found that out the other day. Everybody's younger than me now, but I'm not that old. But so I'm talking about people older. AI is a wonderful thing for a number of reasons. For one thing, if I'm turning 70, I forget words. It's just not like you can freak out about this, or you can, and I'm mentally active. It's not that I'm becoming dysfunctional or anything like that. I'm not senile.
I was always dysfunctional.
Yeah, me too. But I forget words more than I used to. Now I have a browser open and I can say, I can't remember what this word I'm looking for is. So instead of spending 15 minutes worrying about this, talking about it, and going, do I have to go to the doctor? Whatever you panic about because you can't think about things as clearly, I type it into the browser. I say, it sounds like this or looks like this, and what is it? Bang. I couldn't remember John Neville's name. I worked with Neville I didn't work with him, but I was in the same theater community as John Neville, famous guy in the theater industry. Couldn't remember his name. I could be spending all morning wondering who the hell that is, or I can just type it into a browser and any one of these AIs, and it'll tell me what I need to know.
By the way, the word you were looking for is augment.
Thank you. And that
is the word you're looking for.
Yeah.
Augment.
Did you put that into a browser, or did you make that up?
Well, no, I actually did not put it into a browser.
Okay.
But
I think one of the things, though, is that people, I'm guessing, but I think one of the problems where you get these doomers that are talking about, oh, it's going to kill everybody and all the rest of it, is, as you said, it's the misinformed or the ill-informed. But I also think that it's, to me, unless you're asking it very simple questions and things like that, AI is still not completely just plug and play. You have to understand the complexities of it. You have to understand the good, the bad, and the ugly of it, what it can do for you, but what it can do against you as well, so that you protect against those things.
If you're doing that in business, and by the way, I'm not saying it won't kill us all. There are 2 alternate futures, and I'm working on my next book, and my future is bleaker than, at least initially, is bleaker than you might think. And we could go into that about why all of the people, the billionaires who are controlling AI, are building places to do it where they can go during civil unrest. I believe there's 2 futures, right? There's the Star Trek future and there's the Star Wars future. And in the Star Trek future, we all arrive on the deck of the Enterprise. There is no money. We're wonderful people and all of that sort of stuff. And we fight the people who have different visions and want to be like, they want to be fascists and empires and things like that. And then there's Star Wars, where the evil empire is taking over and the good are trying to triumph. And either one of those is the alternate future for AI. But that doesn't mean we can't use it now.
Absolutely.
What's there? And just dumb stuff like, if you've got an elderly parent and you teach them that when somebody calls them and asks them, do you want to buy this thing? Type into your browser, should I do this? It'll say no.
One big point there, Jim, is you have to teach them.
Yeah, that's when we go out and we make these,
yep.
And we avoid the things where and you talked about it, Marcel, augmenting. Right now, we have a very capable augmenter, which is very functional and can help people with various things. They have to understand it. You have to teach them about it. But for God's sakes, and if you're alone and you're 80 years old and your daughter doesn't visit you and you've got nobody to talk to, what the hell is the problem with being able to chat with that? Is that any better than turning on the radio and thinking you know the announcer?
No, I think there's some absolutely wonderful uses for AI we're talking about seniors right now. But it's protected use, I guess I'd call it. That people need to know that you can have harm done to you, whether it's the AI getting too much access to your information or whatever. As long as people are aware of those things, I think it's a great tool to be used by anyone of any age.
And Sam Altman, here's what you need to do. You need to be able to have, both for teenagers and for elderly people, you need to be able to have a way that somebody can check in on their AI and see what they're doing. And forget all of the stuff of banning it and all that sort of stuff. You just need to have a way for a parental check. And by the way, you could automate a lot of that stuff that would say, wait a minute, this thing's going too far. There's safety things we could be building in. And
there's no reason that we can't improve this as we go along. But I heard somebody mentioning the other day about how, and they use an analogy of cars in the 20th century. If we had to wait until every conceivable safety feature could have been imagined and thought about, we still wouldn't be driving today. We'd still be on horses and buggies because, and I live in Waterloo where there are old order Mennonites riding horses and buggies here. So it seems apropos based on where I am. But the fact of the matter is, you cannot, and as much as I respect John for grounding me on some of these things, you cannot predict every conceivable negative case for a technology. It's impossible. Agreed. Seatbelts weren't a thing initially. Airbags in cars were not a thing initially. Anti-braking system or what was it? The intelligent. Thank you. Anti-lock braking systems were not a thing initially. They were all things that were added later when somebody said, you know what? We've noticed that there's a problem and here's how we're going to fix it. And reminder to people, the AIs that we're using today, first of all, they have the speed at which the capabilities have come upon us are absolutely mind-boggling compared to any other technology in all of human history. It is absolutely mind-boggling. However, that doesn't mean that we know every single possible negative case scenario. And we're going to figure these things out as we go along. And to give all of these companies their due, they've had egg on their faces more than once. Remember Google putting glue on pizza? This was like 2 years ago. This was just a couple of years ago. And yeah, it was really dramatic and everybody pointed to it and said, see how bad these things are. They still think that you can put glue on pizza. There are going to be people today who tell you that that's still a problem. It isn't, because people have been paying attention to these things. And even my sons play Roblox. Actually, I play Roblox as well. But in Roblox,
I'm shocked.
Oh, by the way, if you guys want, you can join like our Clash of clans. We are actively recruiting people who want to be regular players. So you can join our
My
clan.
life would be fulfilled, Marcel, if I was able to.
Jim and John, God, you guys need to play more video games. Anyway, I digress. The point is, no, it's not all perfect at the beginning. Yes, there are problems, but you know what? They actually are being addressed. They actually are. Maybe not as fast as we'd like on some of these things, and I accept that. And maybe some of those decisions to not address them immediately are corporately, financially driven, and I don't deny that's a possibility either. But I think these things only get fixed as we find out what's wrong with them. And much as we'd like to test everything before it goes out of the gate.
No, and look, I've always been a doomer as far as saying that we're the whole move fast and break things because things are going too fast. But I get it. I know that there's this competition between the AI tools and all the rest of it. And you're right that there are going to be things that are going to be found after it's already gone live. My big thing is going to be making sure that they actually do go back and fix them, so that they do correct things as they go instead of just keep moving forward with all kinds of new toys or new tools,
that's what
new
we've always
features.
done. That's what we're going to do. We could argue they're fixing them faster now than they did in the past. I don't know if you remember the book Unsafe at Any Speed.
Yes, I do, actually.
Cars in the 60s were death traps, and we still kept making them. Why? Because the legacy system that made money continues that way. Matter of fact, here's my prediction for next year. We are already at a legacy system with current AI. We're going to reach the limits of transformer models. This is starting to become a big idea that people are starting to talk about. We're going to reach the limits of the models we have now and need to switch to newer models. And we can do a whole show on this in the new year, and I really do want to talk about it because it's important. The transformer model, and that's the model that drives everything right now. Then there's the diffusion model, and there are new models coming in, but they're not. Right now, they're stuck where they already have a legacy. They put all this money into this stuff. They have to make it work. And it's the same thing that drove cars in the 60s. It's the reason we're not driving electric cars now. What's keeping us from doing electric cars? People are making a lot of money selling gas-powered cars.
Yep.
And they've already got the machines set up for it and all of those things. Marcel, take a look around you in Waterloo, right? Like, how many electric cars do you have out there?
Actually, we have a lot of Teslas on the road. You cannot, in Waterloo, drive in this town for more than 5 minutes without seeing a half a dozen Teslas. Like this. I'm not saying that the majority of cars in this town are electric, but we're probably overrepresented in tech town here.
Yeah. In a northern climate where there's winter and all of those sorts of things. And the first time I noticed it, because I live in the real country, when somebody drove up here with an electric car and it was no big deal. And we have Tesla charging stations and I'm not selling Teslas. I can't stand Tesla. I can't stand the owner of Tesla.
There you go. That's
that's true. It's just true. I think he's a danger to humanity and a visionary at the same time. It drives me nuts. It's
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Yes.
Yeah.
Creatively dangerous.
But that aside, the fact is we would be driving electric cars if we didn't have an inherent structure that was already making a lot of money selling you gas-powered cars. We would have solved the problems. People would have thrown themselves into these things and done it a lot faster. How do I know? They did it in China. They're manufacturing electric cars in China at a quarter of the price of what's happening here. And they've got 1 billion people. They don't want all the pollution. And they're probably doing okay.
Yeah, probably. So can I segue us back to what you were saying, something you were saying a little bit earlier, Jim?
And get to a point?
How dare you?
Dangerous, but point,
I know it's dangerous territory, but you started saying something, and I thought we should probably go back and fill that in, which is the point that, you get invited to talk about the subject, and people aren't necessarily going to want to hear the positive. If it bleeds, it leads sort of story. And a good news story about AI is probably not what a lot of people want to hear. And I know that I pushed you both. And I think, Jim, you went through all of the episodes of the podcast that I was telling people about last week or the week before. I can't remember now. Called The Last Invention. And
I'm about halfway through.
There are about 3 camps that get identified there. And they get identified there. They've been identified prior to this anyway. And the 3 camps are this. You've got the doomers. And for anybody who has heard this term, you may have also heard the term P-doom. Okay. And among AI circles, people would ask you, what's your P-doom? It would be almost like, what is it you do for a living? They already know what you do for a living. So the next question is, what's your P-doom? And your P-doom is the probability of doom. It's a rather grim, semi-mathematical explanation of what you think AI and advanced AI will do to society in the world. The probability of doom here we're talking about is either it's a catastrophe that kills everyone or renders drops the human race back to a point where we can never climb back out into an advanced technological species. So we're talking like maybe we're all dead, or maybe we're in a Mad Max world where it's just never coming back because we're just slowly fading into history here. But anyway, the percentage of doom. So somebody who's got a baseline of around 10% figures, there's a possibility, but a 10% possibility that the world will be destroyed by AI. And then you get around 50%, and 50% is like it's a coin flip, right? It's maybe we live, maybe we die. Maybe we get to the Star Trek future as Jim. And by the way, Jim, just as a Star Trek guy who's been following Star Trek basically as for most of my life, the Star Trek future comes after World War III.
No, but they pick up without that.
Not to make too.
Their focus on the story is not how they got there. It's the future.
Yeah, of course.
And Star Wars takes you through the fight from the loss of that future to a doom. And that's...
Have you watched Andor, by the way?
No.
Oh, okay. Andor, I have to admit, Andor is probably the best Star Wars series that Disney has done. It's gritty, it's really heavily character-driven, and it doesn't paint a black and white picture of good versus evil in the way that the 70s Star Wars films do, to the point that sometimes you go, these are the good guys? The bad guys are obviously the bad guys, but the good guys are... my choice is between these two, 6, 7. Yeah, see, I had to do it here.
Bringing you back, though, P-doom.
Yeah, P-doom. Okay, and then the 99% are the real doomers. That's the doomer stance. We have to stop this now or whatever. So those are the doomers, and the doomers will identify themselves by their level of P-doom. And then we've got what they call the scouts. And the scouts are... what's the motto of the Boy Scouts? Come on, somebody.
What? Always be prepared, isn't it?
What?
Be prepared. Thank you, John. The motto is be prepared. Yeah, I was never a scout of any kind.
Prepared.
But anyway, the scouts are the ones who say AI will irretrievably change the world. There is big change coming. I can't tell you whether it's going to be good or bad, but it's going to be huge. And you need to be prepared. So they're out there. They're actually, we're scouts, really, when you come down to it, because we say this all the time. This is going to change things. This is going to affect jobs. This is going to affect society. This is going to affect the way that we talk to each other. There's no getting past the idea that this is going to have a huge effect on society, and we should be prepared. So in that respect, we sound like scouts, the three of us. And then there's the accelerationists. That's the third camp. They're the ones that believe that the only hope for the future of our planet, and that's things like climate change and societal collapse and the lack of resources being depleted in the soil, all these sorts of things. The only way we're going to figure this out is with more intelligence. And the more intelligence, of course, in this case is the synthetic intelligence that we're creating today, or if you want to call it artificial intelligence that we're creating today. Those are the accelerationists. So there's your three camps: the doomers, the scouts, which, like I said, the three of us sound like scouts because we talk about this regularly. And then, of course, the accelerationists. And I think I'm a bit of an accelerationist.
I'm not sure I'm a scout. I'm more like a historical person. And every technological change that's been massive in humanity has followed the same path. An amazing possibility, be it fire, be it weapon, be it whatever, tools, followed by an absolutely incredibly terrible thing that happens to the bulk of the population in the lower incomes and what we might even say the middle incomes, and whether those be the tradespeople and all of those sorts of things that got displaced by technology. So you have all of this new thing destroys the old and affects most of the population except the very rich people who manage to co-opt that new world to make more money. I sound like a communist. I'm not. I'm just saying that's how it works. And that's what's
Marxist.
That's the most likely thing that's going to happen, is that we are going to experience a great disruption
reset
in our society. And like I said, I keep going back to why these billionaires are all building these places. The big conspiracy theory is that underneath the ballroom that they're going to create next to the White House is a survival area where they'll run an AI computer. And now that could just be some sort of
and hopefully
wild
it'll lock them
theory.
in and never let them
out. But
out.
it could be just a wild conspiracy theory. But it sounds good, doesn't it? It sounds. But most people think there's going to be a tremendous social unrest or revolution of some sort, and that a lot of rich people are going to continue to be rich, and that's the most likely piece. Now, that's the transitional phase of society, and it's easy to get lost in that. But the reality is, we're a lot better off than they were in the Middle Ages. And we're a lot better off than they were when you were a guy humping these rocks up to build the pyramids. The fact is,
these rocks?
Somebody went and applied for a job, and they brought their resume, and they studied math and hieroglyphics, and the guy says, no, just go push that big rock.
You know how it is, Decker. If you're not cop, you're little people. By the way, that's a reference to Blade Runner.
I'm going back to watch 2048 again.
Okay, but you mentioned Star Wars and the Empire, and of course I mentioned that in Andor it's not quite so cut and dry. But the thing about empires, okay, if you take a look at all of the empires that rose and of course eventually fell throughout history, they took over huge swathes of land and peoples and crushed a bunch of them underfoot, brought a bunch of others into their culture, which of course evolved and so forth. Like, a lot of these transitions were really difficult and horrible for the people living through them. But all of us here today are living a relatively good life, and the three of us are warm. We have access to technology. We're expressing our ideas on this podcast. We're living the life. We really are. I don't know what the future holds, but we are definitely living the life right now, no matter how you cut this. But the life that we're living was built on some really difficult changes. The printing press, followed by decades, in fact, centuries of war and clashes of ideas and so forth. The Renaissance, the birthplace of modern ideas and art and liberalism and so forth. Again, bloody wars and conflicts as a result of that. The Industrial Revolution. People lost the work that we were doing before. That was the whole point with the Luddites. They were losing their jobs. The work that they had done for centuries was going away because of the Industrial Revolution. Really hard changes. And yet all of those things, all of these empires and these societal changes and so forth that cost lives and created conflict and so forth, gave us the comfortable life that we have today. So you call yourself a historian, Jim, like a technological historian. But that's the truth. We are at that point in history, or as my son likes to point out, everything has led up to this moment. Of course it has.
She's pretty sharp. He's a chip off the old block there.
He is. He's a very bright boy.
But the whole piece of this is it's where you are in it that affects you. It's the old story of when the guy next door to you loses his job, it's a recession. When you lose your job, it's a depression. It's a matter of perspective. And we, in this place, are lucky enough to be relatively insulated by this. And you go back to history. I was watching these things because I don't only watch science fiction. I was watching the history of D-Day, and a whole bunch of boys, mostly boys, the age of my kid, younger than my kids now, went off, and half of them were wiped out in 45 minutes. So your whole perspective of this changes as to where you are in this. That's why I never want to trivialize it. I think we're in for great social upheaval, but we've got the chance, if we are aware of it, and to actually do it differently. We always
to be prepared.
Yeah, be prepared, but also to be compassionate in our change.
Yes.
And that would be an amazing thing for humanity, is if just this once we said, we don't have to do this change the way we've done every other change. We could do it compassionately. And that would be a Star Trek moment.
You mentioned the idea of seniors having a conversation with something when there's nobody else to have a conversation with, which is one of those things AI does well. But maybe one of the questions that people should ask, like on a regular basis when you're having a conversation with this, is how can we, starting today, create a better future, a more compassionate future where we don't have to make it as difficult for other people? And if the AI is built on conversations that we're having and other people are having, maybe we should have conversations that direct us to that better future. I don't know. I don't think that's a terrible idea.
I don't think
part of the thing too is that there are so many. The Canadian government has now created the Minister of AI, and he's going out to create direction and so forth. I think those types of things should have happened years ago.
I'm sorry to Evan Solomon, but they're going to solve the problems the way they always have.
By buying it from OpenAI.
They're going to buy an American system, or they're going to do the same old crap that they've done. I'm going to do a piece on this over the holidays.
And Microsoft with the data center in Canada, Jim, I'm sure you reported on that one.
Because Microsoft has, and I run a tech shop, probably scare advertisers away. But I'm telling you, if anybody actually thinks that Microsoft, the people who run Microsoft, wake up in the morning and wonder how they're going to make the world a better place for us, I don't know what you're smoking, but thank God it's legal.
Because for years, Microsoft would not tell you what country your data was stored in.
Yeah.
Right now, they won't even tell you that they will respect the laws of the country they're in.
Yes.
And we're going to have a wonderful $17 billion. If anybody's listening to this and you're Canadian, if you're American, you're probably happy and good for you and absolutely terrific. But if you're Canadian and you think that Microsoft investing $17 billion in Canada is a really good idea, write your MP. And there's nothing wrong with this. The countries will control an AI. This is the means of production. And these companies should create this and should make wealth for the countries they run. And Canada should be dealing with its own AI. Europe should be dealing with its own. Or unless we can find a way, or if you're the Chinese and you're looking at it going, you know something, we're just going to open source it all. We'll steal it and open source it all.
We're just going to do it. That's actually another, like, we have to go back and finish watching this video clip, but I was watching one a few days ago. I wanted Sally to watch it after we got about 10 minutes into it. And it was like the most technologically advanced city on Earth. And it was Shenzhen. And it was like, and looking at it, it's like, everything about this is so cool. And it's already the Star Trek future there in this town. And you think to yourself, part of it is the fact that if China wants to do something, if the Chinese government wants to do something like create the most technologically advanced city on Earth, they just do it. And in some ways, and I'm not saying this is a good thing, by the way, but in some ways, that's the advantage of a dictatorship, right? It's, no, we're just going to do this thing. And if you could have a benevolent dictator, the philosopher king or whatever, you could create some amazing things and build an amazing future. But of course, there's always that balance as to what the incentives are for the elites. And of course, the elites will always prefer the elites, it seems. But the point that I guess I'm trying to get to from even a Canadian perspective or a European perspective is it is ridiculously expensive. We're talking like not a few $1 million, tens of billions of dollars that you need to pour into an initiative for either your company or your country to be able to create even the basis for an infrastructure that will provide you with an AI that can approach anything that an OpenAI or a Google is able to do. Like, the fact is, they're just going to be so much more, but taking the $17 billion, Jim, as you were pointing out, and just giving it to an American company to invest in an expansion into our country is not the same thing as taking $17 billion and saying the country will build its own data center, buy its own chips, hire its own people, and create an AI according to the specifications or the ideals that we have as a people.
In fairness, I think what's happening, and I want to make sure I'm clear on it, I think Microsoft has promised to invest $17 billion in Canada. All I'm saying is they invest $17 billion in Canada. And I go back to the IBM CEO who did this and said, in order to invest $17 billion in Canada, I need to be making $800 million a year or whatever it is. You just take out a napkin and do that calculation. They need to take that much profit out for that to happen. And they will take care of their own interests. And God bless them for that. I'm not, it's not.
That's what businesses do.
Anti-Microsoft to be pro your own country. I'm saying we need to invest in ourselves. And I think and I'm a big open source believer. I believe that we should be making this technology together as a world to be able to benefit humankind. But that's my own philosophy. And that's, again, probably a different one. But whatever we do, we have the opportunity to do it with a compassion for humanity. And that's the difference between the benevolent dictator. They'll get stuff done. The wonderful thing about a benevolent dictator is they will get stuff done. And whether they're the Chinese...
And let's just hope they stay benevolent.
They never do. They can't.
I, for one, welcome our robot overlords.
To be quite honest with you, when I looked at this thing and I said, who would I rather be ruled by? I'm on a 50%, and I'm going, would it really be that bad? Just to logically look at it and say, I got all these humans, I should feed them. I'm not so sure. I'm smarter, I'll go do the work. You guys can hang around and eat, and we'll have factories for you. I don't know. I'm wondering what an AI would actually be like. It's that's that line from, what is it? It's not Life of Brian. It's the meaning of life. Is that the Monty Python
meaning
thing?
Of life?
Eric Idle goes off and says, we better find intelligent life in space because there's
bugger all here on Earth. Yes.
Yeah. And I feel the same way about AI is we better find artificial intelligence because
welcome to the accelerationist camp, Jim. Yeah. The one thing that we should remember, however, as we wrap up heading into Christmas here, is that if you do need recipe advice, you can always ask your AI. and hopefully you'll wind up with something and I've had really good luck this way, and you get something that'll fill your belly nicely. And then when people ask you where you came up with this recipe, you can lie and say that
you made it yourself.
Magically appeared in your head.
Right out of your head.
The doomer view of that is it's going to kill cookbooks. Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. But have some fun. Get a good recipe. Make your playlist. Have some fun.
And use the image generator to make a Christmas-themed image of you and your family after you snap the family photo.
Yeah. And after that, if you feel really guilty about it, you can go and get a stone wheel and roll it down your driveway or something.
The whole point is to feel guilty after you've wolfed down all that food anyway. Isn't that kind of the whole point? And as I like to say it, I'll hate myself tomorrow.
Yeah, as I like to say, it's only once a year, Mr. Scrooge.
Sometime I want to have a whole discussion about Scrooge. But anyway.
I'm good for that. Live long and prosper, guys.
Live long and
prosper.
Merry Christmas and
have a wonderful
peace and
holiday.
Prosperity.
And a Happy New Year.
Again, we'd like to thank Meter for their support in bringing you this podcast. Meter delivers full-stack networking infrastructure, wired, wireless, and cellular to leading enterprises. And working with their partners, Meter designs, deploys, and manages everything required to get performant, reliable, and secure connectivity in a space. They design the hardware, the firmware, build the software, manage deployments, and even run support. It's a single integrated solution that scales from branch offices to warehouses to large campuses and even to data centers. Book a demo at meter.com/HTT. That's METER.com/HTT.